Do we put some of these new releases on a bit of a pedestal? Are the constant re-releases and limited editions always worth it? Or are we just collecting these things more for the label than the actual content? Sellout levels? Nah. I don't have the answers. It confuses me. Nah. Over the years, the boutique labels, they've grown massively in popularity. A lot of them now, they're so good at marketing and social media that it's pushed their titles to have some kind of must-own status among the movie collecting community. But are we putting some of these titles on a bit of a pedestal? Are we collecting more for the label than the actual movie? I've seen a few titles over the last few years from the boutique labels. The titles that I can remember, titles that previously were perhaps a little uncared for. But that release, coming from a boutique label, suddenly this previous movie dud, it's a must own. I see so many people heading online and just clicking that pre-order button without a second thought. Recently, Arrow Video released a new limited edition of Tremors II. A limited edition for a movie that was previously no more than a direct-to-DVD sequel.
Doing what I can with what I got.
Now don't get me wrong, it's got to have done okay to warrant several direct-to-DVD sequels, but a limited edition release from a boutique label that's close to selling out? How? Why? It's easily available as an individual release or part of a full collection box set, and at a fraction of the price. How has this title in its limited edition form become such a must-own? Is it simply the fact that Arrow released it? Or is it because folks just want that limited edition to sit alongside the limited edition of the first movie? I don't have the answers. It just confuses me. In a similar way, Turbine in Germany released a limited edition of Barbed Wire. I've not actually seen this movie, but I remember it on its initial release. It was considered a bit of a joke. It was a box office bomb of epic proportions. It made no more than 4 million at the box office. It was a dud of epic proportions. So what's changed? Why now is Barbed Wire seemingly a sellout? I don't get it. Apart from the perving on Pammy aspect. Nah. And it doesn't just stop there. I've seen plenty of folks ordering the new release from 88 Films of Vertical Limit, which was a previously uncared for movie. I'd seen it selling for as little as £3 on eBay for an import copy, and that's roughly what I got my copy for. So now that 88 Films are releasing it, why the sudden surge of want and the sudden surge of interest in this movie? Is it down to that label again?
Well, we'll just tell your mother that we ate it all.
American Pie in 4K from 88 Films. Who asked for it? I mean, I love the movie, but a 4K release? Are these labels just upgrading things for the sake of it because they know they have an audience and they know that a certain number of people are going to buy these titles? Is anyone out there actually rushing to upgrade their version of American Pie? Do you think it needs 4K? Then there's also Masters of the Universe. Now, it might hold a soft spots of nostalgia for some, but for it to head into selling out limited editions, what the Well, clearly, it's pretty amazing to me. I just can't believe what a sellout this previous joke of a movie has become. Yeah, I am nostalgic for it, which is why it sits in my collection, but as you can see, my copy that I've had for years is still sealed, and I'm sure there's many of us out there that have ordered the limited edition that still have a similar sealed copy on their shelves. I'm okay with just a standard edition of this sat in my collection. What extra is this limited edition going to give me? There might be a few extras on there that are kind of interesting, but to spend a fortune on a limited edition for a pretty naff film, I suspect many of us are the same for titles like this. So why do we all suddenly need the limited edition just because it's being released by a boutique label? I've no clue really. And in a similar way, the same label also released in Australia.
It's me, Mario!
Super Mario Brothers.
Hello!
Now, I don't think I've ever really heard a good thing about this movie. Yes, it's going to have its fans, yes, it's going to spark some nostalgia, but it's arguably one of the worst video game adaptations that there is out there. But it's selling out. It's now quite sought after. The new limited edition or the steelbook, they're selling for upwards of £65 on eBay. £65 for a piece of shit movie. What? There's still standard editions out there that are available a lot cheaper. The boutique label, the limited edition label, is pushing us further and further, spending more and more on things that we don't really want or don't really need. Well, obviously some of us want them, but to sellout levels, nah. The thing that's in my mind with all of these releases, if they were standard releases rather than being from a boutique label or a limited edition, would as many of us be interested, even if they were marked down at a cheaper price? Is it the label that's pushing us to collect and spend more on some of these titles? Now that I'm looking a bit closer at what I've been collecting and why, these releases at times, they absolutely baffle me. Now I understand that some of these titles, they do have some kind of cult following, and a lot of them do have the fans, but to sell out at the extent that they do, are we putting some of these movies on some kind of pedestal just because they're being released by a boutique label? There's an argument for buying these titles that if we buy them, we're supporting the boutique labels, but we seem to be supporting them in feeding us crap for the sake of it. They now seem to have an idea that if they keep churning out things, that they're always going to sell up to a certain level if they market it as a limited edition and only have a limited number run. If we all stop buying the nonsense that they release, then they might have to think a little more or work a little bit harder to get licenses for those titles that we really want. It's a business. They will find another way. I've made these type of purchases myself. That announcement comes up from one of the boutique labels and I'm in the comments section, reading the general comments, and my excitement is building. The title might sound kind of interesting, and it's touted as limited. That's all I need. I'm in. I've clicked, I've placed that pre-order, it's sat on my shelf. When it arrives, that interest and that excitement, it just seems to die down a little. It's all but gone. I have previously been more into the label and what they're doing over the actual content. Content should be king. Not the packaging, not the label, the content. Shop for the content that you actually want over buying for the sake of a label.